Hello, friends,
This is Trina.
and Sandy.
And as we said before, we were going to have you meet us, and specifically Sandy. So we've heard some things about Sandy's experience. And so what we promised you in this segment is that we're gonna talk about the recovery of Sandy's experience. And so I just like really Sandy to kind of pick up um, where we did say that there was a business side to
Yes,
when when we lose someone, and then we go through the motion of all the things that come with that loss. So I'd like you to just maybe share with us, Sandy, about kind of what happened throughout time
sure,
um, and then where you are now.
sure. So where I left off was there is a business side of it. You do have to take care of those unfortunate things. You must. And so once that is all done and the service is done and everyone goes home and the phone stops ringing, you're left with the real work
Mm,
now to be started.
mm,
um, because now you're coming out of the fog. Now you have time. Now you have you, yourself, and I to face and to deal with. And that probably was the most difficult part of all of it
mm,
for me was realizing that this world that I once knew was no longer. I mean, I understood that in the phone call that was made to me that fateful day, but now I'm experiencing it. Um, Difficult moments going to the grocery store for the first time and reaching for my husband's favorite snack
mm,
or beverage and realizing I wasn't shopping for he and I anymore. I was
mm,
shopping for myself. And that was very strange. And I don't know why I can remember that so well, but I think it was the moment I realized it's just me. Like I know it wasn't he and I, but that's when I realized it is just me.
mm,
And so I left. I couldn't even finish my shopping. I left the bags. I left the groceries. I left everything. I could not get to that register and finish. I
mm,
could not bring myself to a point of it. It just seemed so final and it seemed so significant in that moment
mm,
that it took me a while. I had to go back home. I had to regroup, and that was tough. So fast forwarding from there, I stayed home a few weeks. You know, the phone calls came in, the text messages came. I had a lot of love around me and for me, but there was a period where I just needed to spend time with myself.
mm,
And I really needed to reflect on my life up to that moment. And that takes time. And at some point, I felt strong enough to put one foot out of bed, and then the other followed. And I took a step um, down the hallway. I couldn't even sleep in my bedroom for close to a year. I didn't sleep in my bedroom, I slept in my guest room. And
mm,
I found myself having the nerve to even go into my master bedroom to shower for the first time. I remember that. It was just, everything was as it was. And so it just took time. And then next thing I knew, I got the courage to sleep on top of the bed. And then eventually I got the courage to sleep under the covers.
mm,
And so it was gradual, but it did happen. And I
mm,
found myself being able to go back to work. And that was a whole nother piece of it because now everybody wants to give you their condolences. Everybody wants to hear your story from your mouth. Um, and they want to, they want to show you love. But it's just a reminder of reliving the experience.
mm,
Every time someone asked me how I was doing, every time someone said, I'm so sorry that this happened to you, every time someone offered, what can I do for you? It was a reminder of what was going on in my life. And I just wanted no parts of it.
mm,
But the reality of it all and is that this is my life. And as we talked in a previous segment, it can never go back to what it once was. It could never go back to him being my husband here on earth. That time had come and gone now. And so I had to find what is now my new life. But that took time.
Mm-hmm.
But in that, I took the time out for me, I felt, and I took the space that I needed. And I asked God, is this my life? I'm still fairly young, and am I, not to be without a spouse or a husband or a love, you know, to share this life with? And because I had such a love for my husband, and because he gave me a husband, and we shared two kids together, we had children together, if that was the assignment and I was not to get another spouse, I was 100% okay with that. I was
Mm-hmm.
okay with that. I had experienced it, and I felt blessed that I was able to have that in this
Mm-hmm.
lifetime. But God had other plans for me.
Mm-hmm.
God introduced me to a man that came into my life that truly was patient with me and was God fearing and had also experienced something very similar to mine. He had lost a spouse, and it went a little different for him. And maybe one day we'll have him on our show to
Mm-hmm.
tell and share his story. But we had that in common. So we kind of bonded a little bit. That's how it initially went, of us sharing this kind of grief, and we found ourselves having a lot more in common than not.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward years later, I am happily remarried to this man. So I'm here
Mm-hmm.
to share with you God is good, and you can find love again. You can find happiness again. And even if it's not a husband, if it's just a friend, it's someone you can, share your stories with, your dinner with, your laughter with, it's
Mm-hmm.
still a win. It's still a win. But I had to be open, Trina, to be able to receive that.
Mm-hmm.
I had to get to a place where I was open to love and to be loved. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a difference. You can
Mm-hmm.
love, but it's an entirely different thing to allow yourself to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
And once I was in agreement with that, I think God knew um, that I was ready for a new life that would be shared with someone else, and that it could still be a good life, and I could
Mm-hmm.
still find my laughter and my happy. It was just with someone different and new. It does not make me love my first husband any less. It doesn't make me miss him any less. It doesn't make me feel like I have cheated life because I found new love and happiness.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have to allow ourselves permission to not feel guilty. It is natural to feel that way, but God still had me here. And if He still had me here, then I know there was life to still be lived. And I chose life. And
Mm-hmm.
it is a choice
Mm-hmm.
which you decide to choose. And I chose love and to be loved. And I'm very happy that I did.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for really sharing that story with us, because that is one of the tasks, is to be open. I love that you said to be open to be loved,
Yes.
because it is one thing to kind of have that wall up after having an experience like that, and to have that wall up, and even to open up your heart again, because it can
Right.
be so devastating to
Mm-hmm.
lose someone. And so we're just really kind of happy to hear that you are happy. We know that you still have two kids that have lost their father,
Right.
and no one could replace their father. But I would like to ask you before
Mm-hmm.
we go, like, how are the kids doing?
The kids are awesome. The kids, of course, miss their father, and nobody can replace their dad. but they have a beautiful, loving, healthy relationship with their stepdad, their bonus dad,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
he makes it a safe space. So we openly laugh and talk about the past. We bring up, their dad, and it's fine. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love my husband so much is because he's never made me feel guilty for having a previous life prior to his and ours. And
Hmm.
that's important
Hmm.
that I'm still allowed to wake up not feeling so great because I'm remembering something or I'm reflecting on something. He
Hmm.
allows that space to be available to me, and I'm not judged for it, or I'm not made to feel, like I said, guilty about that. And that in itself is a blessing.
Hmm.
That really makes me feel
Hmm.
like I can be me all the time. I don't have to cover or hide my pain. I'm
Yeah.
respectful. Of course, it's not a daily conversation, um, but when the emotions and the feelings come up, he has
Hmm.
offered, he has given me that permission to, Sandy, talk about it. Let's talk about it. And that's really special. And that means the world to me that
Yeah.
this man allows that. And I feel like that is something that's more special to me than almost anything I can say in a relationship, when you have somebody that trusts and loves you so much that they don't want you in pain. They
Hmm.
don't want to see you in pain. And if they can help you out of it or through it in
Hmm.
that moment,
Hmm.
wow, that's,
Hmm.
for me, that's huge.
Yeah,
So,
we love them. Those of us on the even on the outside, that's one of the things that we are most happy when you can be cared for even after having the loss of someone.
right.
So we thank you very much for just go ahead and again trusting
Thank
us,
you.
trusting me, and then
Thank
trusting
you all.
our friends out there.
Thank you.
It's not an easy conversation to have, but we wanted you to meet us,
Yeah.
and specifically on this segment, we wanted you to meet Sandy.
Thank you. Well, friends, don't forget to visit your lighthouse.
It'll help you find your way out of the dark.
Thank you again. Until next time.
Until next time.